at the highest level. Jacob's going to join me on the show now. Jacob, commiserations, my friend, on going out. What do you think went wrong today from a Tottenham point of view?
It's hard to say when it feels like everything keeps continually going wrong. I do agree with the super chat you had up earlier that says it was weird to start Tell on the left and Son through the middle. I clearly thought it would have been Tell through the middle and Son on the left because I'll be honest, Son for me is better on the left. He hasn't really been that good through the middle, but I just feel like I can't even say, oh, well, we didn't really have healthy center backs like that. I mean, neither did they. They lost their center back pretty early on in the game. That save from, or excuse me, the non-save from Kingski in the first 62 seconds, I think it was, 63 seconds, somewhere around there. That you just got to be better there. He's a young guy making young guy mistakes, so I'm not actually surprised to see him make that mistake, but it was just one of those, like, I played keeper for 20 years. If it hits you in the gut like that, you can't let it bounce off you and roll into the back of the net. So to me, that was pretty poor on his end. I'll be honest, I thought he made up for it in the rest of the game. He kind of kept us alive when it should have really been 5-0 at one point. And he was kind of the only guy. Between him and Jed Spence, it seemed like they were the only two players really trying. Matthias Tell looked like he was trying a lot. He gave the ball away a lot, but he did look like he was trying a lot. At this point, it's just how many more L's are we going to take before this thing really just explodes? And it's been on fire for a minute, and we've all been expecting the explosion soon. But for me, it's kind of like, sure, sack Ainge, I don't know what you get out of it. I understand why you would want to sack him. There's problems I had with what he did today. At one point today, when we were down, it just seemed like at that 2-0, they just were accepting it for a while there. That they were just okay with that too. And to me, I struggle with just accepting that. Part of me was like, just throw the kids on and let them get something out of this, because the senior players or whoever's been starting, I thought Lucas Bergvall had a pretty poor game. I thought he took the ball off our own players a few times. Bringing on Basuma brought me no joy, no hope. So really, from the starting 11 to the bench to the management to the substitution, at every level, I think is what went wrong for Tottenham. And I do love the whole everyone bringing up, I always win in my say. People forget that the media asked a question, number one, and then number two, he was correcting an incorrect statement that was made within the question that was asked. So when he says, I always win in my second year, it was because the reporter said, you usually win in your second year. He says, no, I don't usually, I always win. So he's just a little bit of a correction, and it wasn't like he was lying. But he might have to have an addendum. Is that what it's called? An addendum to that?
Yes.
Notion. Yes. Yeah, he might need something there, but I'll be honest, just poor.
No, I agree. I do. Listen, I want to take nothing away from Aston Villa. I thought there were some excellent individual performances. There were some excellent moments from them tonight. The bit that got to me, I thought you were pathetic against Liverpool. Not to lose, because Liverpool always hard, but I felt like you took no risks. You didn't go. I watched the Sean Strickland fight last night, and this guy's nose is broken. I'm not a particular fan of his antics, but as a fighter, his nose is broken. He's finished in there. He's 4 rounds down, and he's going out swinging. He's trying to knock his opponent out. He actually gets his nose hurt even more. He loses the 5th round. He moves on. I like that from an athlete, whether it's fighting, whether it's football. You're 2-0 down. You go 3-0 down. You might as well go for broke and lose 6-0 rather than do nothing and lose 4. And I thought the first 45 minutes tonight, there was no reaction to that. It was almost as timid, as uninspired, as sort of flaccid as we saw the other night. Why do you think some of the Spurs players are finding it hard to sort of get up for these games at the moment, mate?
You know, my initial thought is that there's just been so many minutes. I mean, I think it's at this point there was a tweet that I was looking at. I'm trying to see if I can find it real quick, but it was someone talking about the amount of games and the amount of time that we've played. Now, I'm not saying that that's an excuse. I'm just saying with this style added on 20 more games because of European competitions, and we made it past the first round of the Carabao Cup, which we didn't do in Ainge's first season. There was a lot more games, 30 more games, that a lot of these players, I just think that sure, you can chalk it up to the tactics and the system, but we're still taking the most fouls and the most contact from anyone in the Premier League. And I think that mixed with the amount of running that is required in the system, it's just kind of a perfect storm for what we're seeing right now. Again, I've never once said it's completely all on Ange Postecoglou, these non-contact injuries. I believe a lot of it is down to players and how you take care of yourself off of the pitch. Because I mean, you look at the best athletes around the world, and they run and they play and they don't miss games, but they're not getting hurt. But you're seeing a lot of teams dealing with a lot of injuries. Aston Villa is dealing with a lot of injuries themselves. But you still look at the strength that they had in that first 11. It was probably their strongest 11 they could field. And then who they brought off the bench. Asensio looked absolutely class, and I haven't, this is his first real taste of the Premier League. So they've got a better squad, a better 11. So I'm not surprised with it, but as far as the players not being up for it, it's like those lulls where they look up for it and then they get punched a few times and they go down. Kind of like what you were saying with Sean Strickland. He refused to go down. He broke his nose. He reset it there in the middle of the round. So it is the kind of notion that I agree with of, you got to take your lumps and you got to keep going forward. And that's what we try to do. But it's just very clear and obvious that we can't continue to beat the same drum hoping that the tune's going to change, because we've been beating the drum and it's been the same tune more or less. And it's like just different variations of, like, sometimes we look more up for it for 50 minutes. Sometimes it's 20 minutes. Sometimes it's 10. Sometimes it's none. Sometimes it's 70. So it's like the inconsistencies in how good the players or how hard that the players try. I thought that they tried today, for what it's worth. Outside of when there was a spell where we went down 2-0 and we did look like we were just going to accept it. But outside of that, I thought that, I just look at players like Jed Spence, even Matthias Tell. He came in here 2 games, 2 L's, and he actually got on the score sheet. I feel a little bad for him, but there was never a quit in him that I saw. Yeah, he gave the ball away a few times. Yeah, some of his first touches weren't great. Challenges were a little sloppy, but you could see that he kept trying to go forward. He kept trying to say, let's bring the the front line of our press, let's bring it up. You could see him signaling to Kulu, like, let's go press in pairs, and that created a little something for us. Now, I think a little bit of it, too, is Aston Villa was kind of like, all right, we got this in the bag. So they took their foot off of the gas pedal a little bit, and we did what we should have done, which was capitalize on it. I feel really bad for Mikey Moore and Kulusevski. We should have had an assist there from Son. I don't know why he shoots it directly at one of the best keepers in the world right now. And Emi Martinez, you shoot it right at a keeper, he's got to save it. I don't care how bang it is or how fast it is. I just thought that was pretty poor from Son. And it's, again, one of those things where, why was he through the middle? Why was that not Tell in the middle of the pitch that received that beautiful pass from Mikey Moore, who, again, gets hooked at halftime for what? I didn't even think that he was our worst player. That's on Ainge too.
That was my next question. I see a lot of Spurs fans frustrated by that. Has there been any word? Is there any sort of inclination as to why Moore, who was one of your better performers in the first half, was dragged off at halftime?
I can't say I've seen anything. I can't say that I've really been looking for it, but it was clear that it was a tactical switch that Ainge thought would help us to put Kulu there in the wing and get Basuma into the midfield to kind of, it really looked like in that midfield, yet again, like Liverpool, we couldn't stop anything. We couldn't control anything. Every first, second pass was getting lost in the midfield. If it even made it to the front line for Son or Tell or anyone, it was like, wow, we're doing something. And then it's just continually back to that. The midfield can't control the game the way that I think Ainge wants them to. You saw it versus Liverpool with Basuma and Pop Matasar. They couldn't control the ball. Pop Matasar comes on, and he couldn't even pass the ball either. To me, it's just an amalgamation of all these players failing at a time in which Ainge is trying to get something from them. And at this point, it's like, I don't know why he's even trying anymore. If I was him, and I'm less of a man than Ainge, I would have walked from this job a long time ago. You got all the fans every week, travel home, they're all talking shit to you. It's a toxic environment. It is an environment that has nurtured bang average players, that has nurtured this losing mentality and has been okay with accepting mediocrity in the sense that, oh, well, Arsenal didn't win it either, so we're okay. I'm tired of that. And I won't be surprised if later on this year, as you get Tottenham fans who are Liverpool till July, because we got Liverpool pretty close to the end of the season, and who knows if they might fall off. You know, they can't even beat Plymouth, losers. But outside of that, I just think that, we're in such a damning place that you're seeing these results that are indicative of where we are, and I think where we have been, and Ainge is failing to pull us out of it. There were times where I thought he could and would, and by all intents, sometimes you think he should, but right now he's just unable to do it, and it's actually pretty sad.